That's close. Mm-hmm.
Okay, hey everybody, welcome. Apparently you couldn't hear me because I suck at
Oh
this.
no.
Okay, so first, Merry Christmas. Sorry about that. Oh, Sealoof has been a member for 10 months and says, Dapper, we can't hear you. Yes, thank you. You got in just after I had unmuted. Yes, so sorry about that. Anyway, so apparently, how Christmas works is one of the deep mysteries of the universe, and most people cannot figure it out. So let's, we'll take a drink for Dapper as a professional. There we go. I'm a professional. Jeez. Okay. Oh, that's terrible. It kind of tastes like toothpaste.
Oh no.
I'm gonna tell you why later. It's not great. Okay, so how does Christmas work? Because apparently it is very mysterious. Christmas, as we might know, is a holiday on the Christian liturgical calendar. Now, Christmas lasts 12 days because, like many parts of the Christian liturgical calendar, it is not a single day feast. It is a 12-day feast. Now, December 25th is Christmas Day and the first day of Christmas. Also, DM Current Issues in Science Wing for $2 says, Satan was messing with your sound with a Godzilla. Well, I've actually heard Christians say that that's what was happening, and that Satan was messing with their sound systems. The Sealoof for 26th, always appreciate having the sex sent over, says, Merry Christmas with a Godzilla, so we'll take another drink. Which really is like drinking slightly boozy toothpaste.
Oh, that's so gross.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my god, why did I do this to myself? No one asked me to. No, I did. I could have just not. No one asked me to.
You could have just not done it?
Yeah, no one would have known. Anyway.
That breaks tradition.
It doesn't, though. This is a new thing that I just started this just today.
It's an important tradition that's been happening for seconds and seconds.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so now the Christian liturgical day starts at sunset, which means that when your secular calendars say December 24th, but the sun is down, it is now officially the first day of Christmas. Now, since here in the United States of Arizona, the sun has set, it is in fact the third day of Christmas. So this is not a late Christmas show. If you wish me a Merry Christmas, you are not doing so late. You are wishing me a Merry Christmas during Christmas. Now, if you do not celebrate Christmas, then I hope you have a Merry Tuesday, or a Happy Tuesday, or just a pleasant and safe Tuesday, and the rest of the next several days of Christmas. As to the Kai in Christmas disproves Jesus for you. Oh my goodness. Oh, he's been a member for 9 months and is at the amulet level, says, Merry Newtmas to all except the gaggle of Grinches at AIG. Okay, so let's explain what I am drinking. Now, it is Christmas, and so I decided that the proper thing to do would be to have a single glass of eggnog mixed with brandy, which is the traditional liquor to mix into eggnog. So I bought myself a little bottle of brandy, and I went over to the dairy aisle, which is where they keep the eggnog. And lo and behold, the only eggnogs left were in fact vegan nut milk-based nog beverages. And so what I have is some holiday almond nog that I have mixed into, well, I've mixed with some brandy. And holy crap, is it awful. So,
It sounds bad.
Vaguely Local Interdimensional Cephalopod says, why would you do this to yourself? To be fair, I didn't think it was going to be this bad. But here's what you can do. I'm going to go over the drink triggers. If you want to help me out, because I've also got a beer on standby. If you want to help me get to this beer sooner than later, then do things that trigger drinks, please. So let's go over those. So, this is Kent with Ben. We do a little bit of a drinking show. If you want to play along, that is fine, but please know your limits. Don't overindulge. If you, in fact, get a little bit tipsy, don't go and drive, don't operate heavy machinery, don't text your ex. None of these are approved activities after you've been having a few drinks. But if you do, in fact, decide to play along with any intoxicating substance and you cause destruction of property, there you go, grievous bodily harm, maiming, disfigurement, dismemberment, death, destruction, mayhem, cats and dogs living together, any of that stuff. Yeah. We do not accept liability or responsibility. This is an at-your-own-risk activity. If you cannot take the risk, do not participate in the activity. Now, on the other hand, if you want to play along and you want to use something other than booze, feel free. You can play along with water, tea, juice, soda, coffee, a vape pen, just fist pumping the air. I don't care. Whatever you want, right? All of those are fine. You absolutely do not have to drink to play along, or you can just ignore the drinking game entirely. Or you can do what I'm pretty sure some people do, which is just see how many drink triggers you can get to see how drunk you can make me, because I do play with some alcohol. Goop23 for $5 says, today would have been the 90th birthday of Carol Spiney, the original puppeteer for Big Bird and Oscar. Rest in peace. Oh. Well, rest in peace. I did not know that. Linda Peterson, I am not in charge of bingo, so I cannot answer that question. Aunt Jer asks, what brand is the nog? It's some farm that starts with a C something farm. I don't actually remember. I kind of might want to forget it, actually. So, yeah. Anyway. Now, let's go over the drink triggers. So, as you guys have already seen, anyone who is a channel member can send a milestone or a super chat that contains one of the kaiju emojis. That includes Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. If that happens, we take a drink. Also, if Mothra or Godzilla come up audibly, we take a drink. It's a little bit less likely now that I have some of the things that used to cause that turned off. Because holy crap, do I not want to see Twitter announcements anymore. Twitter is the worst that it's ever been, and I try not to spend a whole lot of time there. I fail sometimes, but still. MK Ultra for 15 shekels says, it's Wednesday, not Tuesday, and I'm having it's a friggin' Warzone Wednesday. Oh, yeah. Oh, and AIG are a bag full of Hamas leadership. I mean, that seems fair. I'll take a drink for that. MK Ultra, stay safe out there. I'm not sure if you're someone who's out there who is celebrating Christmas or not, but if you are, Merry Christmas. If not, then hope you're well. DM Current Issues in Scienceman for $5 says, Siri, remind me in 1 year to remind Dapper that vegan eggnog is a Christmas stream tradition. No, screw you. Do not do that. I will make my own eggnog before I do this again. It's not that hard. It's really not. April Van Ryan, a member for 9 months, says, I was planning on driving heavy machinery while texting my ex, so better stay sober. Godzilla. We'll take a drink for Godzilla. Thank you very much. Okay, so also, if Kent says something so stupid I have to cool my brain off, and I'm willing to drink toothpaste to do it, then I'll drink toothpaste. If he says something that's actually true, and he's not just quoting someone else, we'll take a drink for that. If he tells a joke that doesn't land, or a story that didn't happen, for instance, if he tells a story where his daughter managed to convert some museum docent to Christianity on the basis that the dating of fossils is somehow circular, yeah, pretty sure that's a story that didn't happen, so we'll take a drink for that. We also have Trojan Source. If Ken Hovind cites a source, and it not only fails to back him up, but actively contradicts him, we will take a drink for that. Oh, MK Ultra, MK stands for many caring. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but I don't want to assume. So, you know. I mean, you are pretty much the only person who donates in shekels, so... But then again, that doesn't have to be the case, right? Another person from Israel could start donating. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So if it's something true, he's not just quoting. We take a drink for that. The source, if it not only fails to support but actively contradicts, we take a drink. We also have ad hominid. If Kent at any point mistakes the knowledge we have about the individual Lucy for all the information we have about any wider taxon to which she belongs, we take a drink. Let's see. What am I missing? If Bent or I can predict what Kent will say next, we'll take a drink for that. Am I missing any of the triggers for Kent?
Yeah, the Godwin's Law trigger.
Godwin's Law, yeah, okay. If Kent mentions the leadership of Germany in like the 1930s and 40s, or any of their prominent, members of that party, or their various activities that they got up to during that time, we'll take a drink for that. He does not actually have to commit Godwin's Law, but if he gets close, then, Vagary, local interdimensional cephalopod, for $2 says, I'm doing my part with a salute and a Godzilla, and that's their first super chat on a live stream. Thank you very much. Take a drink. Okay. Oh, jeez. Oh, it really is just like drinking a tube of toothpaste. This is amazing.
That's disgusting.
I did not think this is what was going to happen. It actually doesn't smell that bad.
Tea is delicious.
That's good. I'm
There's
a little jealous. There's no egg in this. I suspect there's also no nog in this. But then again, I don't actually know what nog is, so... I mean, I know it's the character played by the late, great Aaron Eisenberg. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
There's also a few more ways you guys can get. If you super chat or milestone chat anything to the effect that AIG are a bag of dicks, we will take a drink. That's Answers in Genesis. Bag of dicks. Also, we will take a drink for each super chatted, or not super chatted, each gifted membership. So if you gift a membership, we take a drink. If you give 5 memberships, we take 5 drinks. If you give 10, we take 10 drinks for 5, whatever. You know what I mean. Once we get to like 30, I'm just going to finish this drink. So the fastest way for you guys to get me to drink this whole thing is just like immediately give 30 memberships. So, not saying you have to, but I'm also not saying it wouldn't be appreciated.
It would get the job done.
Yeah, I would open this beer immediately. All right. So Kent was just telling us about how he doesn't like the word species because he believes in biblical kinds. And he's about to tell us what a kind is. Buckle up, guys. We're finally going to get a definition for kind. Yeah. And it's totally not going to be useless. Oh, as Vagary says, I've gotten their first super chat and first Patreon pledge. Well, thank you. That's actually really, I'm really flattered by that, right? Because I don't think of myself as, like one of the great creators on YouTube, but I love that people are enthusiastic enough about my channel to actually support their first YouTube creator, and it be me. DM Current Issues in Paleontology Wing says, Godzilla wishes you a Merry Christmas, drink fake eggnog. Yeah, okay, I'll drink it. Ugh, okay, oh my god. This is the worst.
Is it getting worse?
Yes. This is the worst beverage-based decision I've made in a very long time.
Yeah.
As to the Kai in Xmas disproves Jesus review for $1.99 says AIG is a bag of blue checkmark sheets. We're gonna go sheets on this one. Godzilla, absolutely, we'll take a drink. Okay, here we go. Kent, what is a kind?
The biblical kind were those that originally were able to reproduce.
Okay. How do you tell where they are now? That's the problem, right? If your definition or your idea does not allow you to make predictions about future experiments, I got the wrong thing, then it's not really very useful.
And produce a viable offspring.
Okay, sure. My criticism remains the same. Actually, that's a good question. What does viable mean? Like, are sterile mules viable? I mean, maybe. What about, like, some hybrids between animals are born alive, but they tend not to last very long? Is that viable? What about embryos that are created, but can't actually develop long enough to actually be born, and they're always stillborn? Is that viable? What about an embryo that after fertilization can only go through, like, 3 or 4 rounds of cell division? That's an embryo that was created. That's a hybrid right there. And the reason that one comes up is because, Ben, I don't know if you know this, but there's such a thing as a humster.
Okay.
That is a embryo with a human father and a hamster mother.
Mm.
And they can go through several rounds of cell division after fertilization.
But only 7 rounds.
Right, but still, that is a
Yeah.
hybrid human hamster. That's what that organism is. So are humans in the same created kind as hamsters? I don't know. And you know what the problem is?
Yeah, who knows?
This isn't a well-defined term. So I am currently going to go ahead and say that until Kent Hovind further defines this term, then we can say that at least according to Kent Hovind's criteria, we have a good chance for humans being in the same kind as hamsters, rats, beavers, chimpanzees, rabbits, lemurs, colugos, lorises, all that stuff. So at that point, like, what is Kent even arguing for? Like, humans sharing common ancestry with basically all of you Archontogliers is that's a lot of common ancestry. That's going way back into the Cretaceous in terms of common ancestry. So, yeah. I did not get anything that said peppermint mocha. It definitely said Nog, Aunt Jer, but I do think that might be the name of the brand. And I've double-checked several times. It said Holiday Nog. I'm very confident of that. So here's the thing. It doesn't actually taste like the mint toothpaste. What's that toothpaste that's not very minty? Is it like Sensodyne or something?
Okay. I don't know. Yeah.
It's one of those. I know I've used it before. It's a weird flavor because it's not very minty.
The aquariums, they have the Walpen, a cross between a killer whale and a dolphin.
Hey, fun fact. Killer whales are just the largest dolphins. So basically what you said is you have a cross between a wolf and a canid. Okay. That doesn't really help. What kind of dolphin? Is it a bottlenose dolphin? Is it an Amazonian river dolphin? I don't know.
Well, I don't know if a killer whale and a dolphin came from the same kind or not. They might originally have been one kind of animal.
Actually, according to your own criteria, Kent, you do have to say yes, they were the same original kind, right? Like you're required to say that now because they can hybridize. So
That diversified into killer whales and dolphins. I don't know. They certainly are interfertile under special conditions. So I'm not.
As are humans and hamsters, let's not forget.
I don't know exactly where the line is in every case between what is a kind.
And you know what? That's fair. You don't have to know everything to have a scientific idea. So you know what? We'll take a drink for Kent getting this right. He doesn't know. Good job, Kent. You admit to not knowing something. It's just hard for you sometimes. Okay. Jeez. I both do and don't want more drinks. Because the more drinks we have, the faster this is gone, but also the more drinks we get, the more I have to drink of this nonsense.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Tough.
So it's fine to not know the boundary in every single circumstance. For instance, in evolutionary biology, we don't know the exact shape of every single cladogram that you could possibly try to construct. We just don't. So what does that mean, though? Well, it doesn't mean that we don't know anything about the cladograms that we do have high confidence values for in terms of their shapes. So do you have any places, Kent, where apart from humans, you can say these animals constitute the entirety of the living members of a kind? I don't even care about the fossils, right? Just the living members of a kind. Where you are saying, yes, I am highly confident that this constitutes the living members of a kind. And the answer I happen to know is no. Because when Aaron Ra asked him this point blank repeatedly in debate, he failed every single time to list any such group. And that's a problem. Because it means you can't ever determine what a kind is. Which means there's no reason to take him seriously about what a kind is. Savage Monkeyfish Cobra for $5 says, AIG is back of the namesakes of Pontius Pilate's great friend in Rome, a.k.a. Bigus Dickus. We'll take a drink. I'm sorry, do you find something amusing about the name Bigus Dickus event?
A little bit.
Okay, I'm going to say Asteru because the whole name is very long, but I really do appreciate it. For $4.99 says, I do not want to know how human hamster infertility was tested. Hopefully it didn't involve putting an AIG somewhere not safe for YouTube. Actually, it's an interesting story, so I'm going to tell a little bit of it. It's actually a fertility test for humans. The idea is that if you're testing fertility, in this case, you're testing whether or not the sperm has the capability to penetrate an egg in order to fertilize it. And so what happens is a chemical wash is applied to the hamster ovas, which are harvested. They're not in the hamster. This is done in a lab. And this chemical treatment removes the zona pellucida from the ovum. And the zona pellucida is a little extra membrane that helps basically check whether or not the incoming sperm has the right proteins to be accepted as being a conspecific. So it removes some of the barrier, because this is a prezygotic barrier to conception. And then if the sperm can in fact penetrate the ovum, then you know that the problem with the fertility is either not on the side of the male, or it's not that the male sperm has problems with implantation, or not implantation, but penetration of the ovum. Yeah, so it's a whole big laboratory thing. Savage Monk. Why do I feel like I'm missing things? Okay, Savage Monkey Fish Cobra says he has a wife, you know. True, he does. MK Ultra member for 30 months and was at the annual level says he has a wife, you know. Incontinentia buttocks. That is, in fact, the name of Biggest Dickest wife. I feel like, Bent, you have not seen the Life of Brian. Is that true?
That is true.
We might have to fix that one of these days. Once we're done with Power Rangers, we'll start watching Monty Python.
Okay.
DM Vegan... Jeez. Guys. DM Vegan Holiday... No. Or sorry, Holiday Beverage Wing for $2. Yeah. Says, Dapper, did you end up seeing Godzilla -1? No, no one wanted to go with me. Anything to add there, Bent? Yeah,
that's a shame.
That is a shame, isn't it? Yeah, it's a big shame. What just happened? Did this thing just crash? Jeez. Oh, no. Why? I hate everything. Everything is terrible right now. This is the actual worst. Now I have to figure out where we were. Nope, that's the wrong one. Jeez. Sorry, everybody. I'm apparently professional. We'll drink for that. Dutch Tunic Official says, celebrating paying off my credit card debt in full for $2. Thank you very much for the super chat, and congratulations. That's awesome.
It's a big deal.
It really is. Yeah, that is nothing to sneeze at. So yeah, I'm now looking for the previous 7 and 8. Yeah, that's always fun.
And produce a viable offspring.
All right, I'm going to bring Bent back.
Aquariums, they have the whalpin, a cross between a killer whale and a dolphin. Well, I don't know if a killer whale and a dolphin came from the same kind or not. They might originally been one kind of animal that diversified into killer whales and dolphins. I don't know. They certainly are interfertile under special conditions.
Yes. Awesome.
So I don't know exactly where the line is in every case between what is a kind. And that would be a good field for research.
Yeah. Weird how there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of that going on. I mean, there is baraminology, but as we've already discussed, baraminology has some serious methodological problems.
But the fact that we don't know where the line is doesn't mean there isn't a line.
The fact that you never can ever tell with any degree of confidence where the line is, and that when people use the techniques that are the most sophisticated that creationists have used or have even come up with to try to figure this out, and then they can then show things that creationists will not accept using their own techniques, indicates that there probably is no kind. But there's also no kind for another more important reason. So creationists will point to things like common design should lead to common genetics, which, you know what, fair enough. But here's the thing. We happen to know that some of the DNA in your genome is not sequence constrained, right? What the actual sequence of the DNA is doesn't actually matter. Sometimes it matters that there be DNA there, but not what the actual sequence of A's, C's, T's, and G's are, right? So, even if we assume that God created similar animals with similar or even identical sequences in these non-sequence constrained areas, that would mean that any subsequent mutations would not be shared across kinds, right? Because they have no common ancestry. So a mutation in this non-sequence constrained DNA in, say, dogs wouldn't affect the sequence in the similar non-constrained region in, say, bears, right? Which would mean that if you just took non-sequence constrained DNA and you tried to do a phylogeny based on it, then whenever you include organisms from more than one kind, the relationship between those organisms would give the tree shape would result in a polytomy with a very low confidence in the shape of the overall tree. Bent.
Yeah.
Would you like to guess if that's what actually happens when we run phylogenies on non-sequence constrained portions of the DNA in various organisms to check for common ancestry?
I can guess. I don't know the answer.
Well, do you think it accords to evolution or doesn't accord to evolution?
I don't know.
As a matter of fact, it actually goes along with the predictions of evolution, where even in non-sequence constrained DNA, organisms share common mutations going all the way back. So you can find common mutations between dogs and bears in neutral DNA that they don't share with, say, cats. But then you can find ones that all of them share with cats, but that are not shared with, say, horses or cows. But then you can find more that are shared between horses and cows and dogs and cats, but that aren't shared with humans. But then you can find ones that are shared between all of those, but not shared with elephants. Which means separate ancestry has been falsified, because it is logically impossible for dogs and bears to share mutations unless, or sorry, that they don't share with, say, cats, unless they are genetically related in an ancestor-descendant type relationship with a common ancestor between them. So, yeah, we've already tested this. It's just not true. Or if it is, it means that God is specifically trying to trick you into thinking it is. Which is kind of a dick move.
Kind of.
And it doesn't mean the biblical definition is not correct.
Remember, everybody, when the Bible was translated into Latin, the word used for the word kind was typically species.
Those that originally were able to reproduce after their kind. See, the information for the variation has to already be present in the gene pool. Maybe you heard about the guys...
No, Kent, there's this thing called mutation. We're just going to take a drink for Kent pretending that mutation doesn't exist. Okay, Ultra for 15 shekels says, according to the Talmud and the interpreter Rashi, Rashi? Oh, no, that's just Rashi. Got it. I was trying to figure out what that word was, and it's just Rashi. Sorry, I'm being dumb. Humans mate with dolphins and issue mermaids. Are humans and dolphins the same kind, Kent? I think Rashi might be incorrect about that. Just gonna put it out there. No shade on Rashi, you know. I've nothing in particular against Rashi, but I think he might be wrong on that one. Steve Arena says, kudos and curses for the thumbnail with a pelagic tunicate. You know, yeah, that is both one of my worst and best thumbnails. Yeah, the Grinch Kent is just, it's horrible and great. Oh, and wait, was that... Hold on, was that 2 yuds, or was it a quotation mark? Yeah, I guess it was 2 yuds. Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
That were trying to find the Northwest Passage across Canada to get to, you know, from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Turns out there isn't one, but they were...
That's true. Take a drink. Kent's right. Ugh. Part of me wants to take bigger gulps so it's gone faster, but then another part of me is like, no, because then you would throw up.
Oh.
We're looking for it, and some of the guys got caught up in there and froze. Well, they dug up the bodies.
I mean, that's Canada for you, right?
And found out these guys were resistant to penicillin.
Wait, the people were resistant to penicillin? Do you mean the bacteria in their bodies? I mean, I'm assuming that's what he means, but that's not what he said. Harry Bronson just gives you the Dapper Dinosaur membership, and it went to Tesla Ranger. Welcome back, Tesla Ranger. We'll take a drink. MK Ultra says that Orthodox Jews come to my TikTok live, claims it's true. Do they have shit? Look, I don't care if you're an Orthodox Jew. If you currently think that humans can mate with dolphins to produce mermaids, you need to work on your education. And the thing is, there are non-science denying Orthodox Jews, right? You don't have to be a science denier to be an Orthodox Jew. So, please don't. I'm not Jewish, I'm not a rabbi, so maybe take all of this with a grain of salt, but my understanding is that Orthodox Judaism is far more about things like how to properly keep the mitzvot, rather than specific interpretations of science. Now, there are definitely Orthodox Jews who disagree with me on that. I've covered one of them that's been released publicly. There's another one that's coming up that where he disagrees with me, and he thinks that, in fact, an important part of Judaism is, in fact, denying science. I disagree with both of them on that. And I'm hoping that there are Orthodox Jews who would agree with me on that. And if there aren't, well, that's a pity. But there are plenty of other Jews who agree with me on that, including Jews who are close to me. So, there you go. I guess I could ask my Jewish uncle. I don't think he cares. Fits of Where'd the Carbon Go, Roger Rage? I love these. For $2 says, Ken's brain grew 3 sizes, still below average. Yes. By the way, if you haven't seen the Mean One, at least see the part where the Mean One's heart grows 3 sizes after Cindy Lou, you-know-who, forgives him.
Well, penicillin hadn't been invented yet.
Yeah, that's true. There's this thing called mutations. And mutations can result in a resistance to penicillin in any given population of bacteria. Also, penicillin hadn't been discovered yet. Bent, did you know that penicillin is extracted from a mold?
Okay.
How do you think that the mold was invented by the guy who first found penicillin? You think it might have existed longer ago than that?
Yeah, I think the mold was alive and growing.
You mean some guy, like over 100 years ago, didn't genetically engineer bacteria-killing mold? No?
No, I don't think anyone invented it. I think it was discovered.
Weird. So it's almost like Kent is wrong in multiple ways of viewing this.
Yeah.
DM Vegan Holiday Beverage Wing for $2 says, everyone knows mermaids evolved from aquatic apes. Oh, man. Animal Planet. Here's the thing. I unironically like that mockumentary. I think it's a fun watch. I like the mockumentary style. Like, for instance, I like the Hella House LLC series of movies. I actually just watched the 4th one recently, like last night. And so, like, I like the mockumentary style. Like, I like The Office. I liked the mockumentary style for the Parks and Rec back when they were still really doing it, before they kind of dropped the conceit for the most part. But like, yeah, the fact that they only right at the beginning said that this was like fake, and then lots of people tuned in, didn't see that bit, or just didn't pay attention to it, and then we're like, see, mermaids are real. The aquatic ape hypothesis is true. Yeah. Jeez. Come on, Animal Planet. You can do better. Yeah, as MK also points out, well, at least we know Newton invented gravity. Yep. Till Newton, things didn't fall. That's just not how the world worked.
So the resistance to penicillin is already in the gene code someplace. And some people have it, some don't. Like some people can roll their tongue and some can't.
No, he does mean the people. He doesn't mean the bacteria. I'm taking a drink. He's doubling down on it being the people who were resistant to penicillin. How they tested their resistance to penicillin in a bunch of dead people when I don't even know what it means for a human to be resistant to penicillin, I have no idea. But I'm taking a drink for it. Hey, Ben, are you resistant to penicillin?
How could I know?
I mean, have you ever taken penicillin?
I've had penicillin. I didn't die from it. So.
Well, there you go. You must be resistant to penicillin.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Good job. Yeah. I mean, you might have died.
I could have.
That doctor was really gambling with your life right there.
Yeah.
I can't, okay? That's just something that's in the gene code. And it's not something that's added or taken away. It's just you can select for that.
Actually, there's this thing called the Luria-Delbruck experiment, which was conducted some, like, oh goodness, 50 years before this talk was given, at least, maybe 60 years. And it's a really cool experiment, right? So you take a bunch of bacteria, and you get as close to clonal colonies as you possibly can, right? And then you expose them to an antibiotic, such as penicillin, in separate colonies that you've grown from the clonal sections that you've acquired. So, if penicillin resistance is a pre-existing trait that just exists in bacteria, and it can't mutate into existence, then you would expect two options. If that's true, what you should expect is that either all of your samples are resistant to penicillin and stay that way, or whatever antibiotic you're using, and stay that way, or they all will. So it's all or none, right? If Kent is right. However, if antibiotic resistance is something that only occurs in some bacteria, and it is something that you can have mutations for, then what you will expect is that there will be little to no correlation in how resistant the various colonies that you grow will be to the antibiotic that you subject them to. What do you think? Did the experiment prove Kent right or prove Kent wrong?
I would imagine it proved Kent wrong.
It did prove Kent wrong. So we have experimental confirmation that not only do mutations occur, not only are they largely stochastic, but they also can infer beneficial traits onto the organisms that have them. Carrie Bronson for $2 says, penicillin is resistant to me. I'm allergic. Ooh. Well, that's okay, because penicillin is a less important drug than it used to be now that so many bacteria are, largely immune.
If you killed everybody that couldn't roll their tongue every 20 years, you killed everybody that couldn't roll their tongue, eventually you'd get a whole population of tongue rollers.
Ben, can you roll your tongue?
Yes.
Oh, all right. You pass. You're safe.
Lucky me.
But can you roll your R's?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Usually not very well.
Yeah.
They're still people. That's not evolution.
Actually, no, Kent. It is evolution. We'll take a drink. And also, them still being people isn't the problem for evolution, so we'll take another drink. So close. Ugh. So, why is it evolution? Evolution is any change in allele frequency in a population of organisms over subsequent generations. Which means, if the ability to roll one's tongue is in fact a genetically determined trait, which I'm willing to accept that it is, I don't really care, we'll just say that it is, then if you increase the rate at which the alleles that allow for tongue rolling in the population of humans over time, you have caused a change in allele frequency in the populations of humans over time. Now, the fact that that on its own is not great evidence for the entirety of common ancestry of all life doesn't make it not evolution. Because the thing is, evolution is defined by evolutionary biologists for their use in the study of the evolution of organisms. It doesn't matter whether or not Kent likes the definition. It's not for him. It's for the people actually doing the science. And that's the definition that they find useful, and that's what they mean when they say that evolution has occurred. Now, as for they're still people, that's just monophily. The human species, if it persists and speciates, will never speciate into something that isn't fundamentally part of the hominin group. It might be something that you can warrant giving a new specific designation for, but that's because specific designations are an arbitrary thing that humans stamp on things. Fundamentally, you will never get something to become something its ancestors weren't. Fitz of Where the Carpet Go Rage says, I can't roll my R's. Should I be worried? Yes. You might want to start heading for the hills. But not before you donate like 30 more Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So I can finish this drink and go on to beer. That should be the next step. I will help protect you from Kent if you do. When Kent asks, hey, where'd Fitz of Rage go? I'll be like, Taiwan. Definitely Taiwan. I can promise he's in Taiwan. And then you just don't go to Taiwan.
That's variation. Now, the gene
Not a real scientific term, ultimately.
pool of the new variety is always more limited.
Now, yes, that is true. Natural selection serves to reduce genetic diversity. We'll take a drink. Good job, Kent. Okay, there's like 3 drops. I'm calling that done on that drink. Jeez, that thing is vile.
Well done.
I tried a little bit of it earlier. And by a little bit, I mean a very little bit. Hey, Savage Monkeyfish Cobra just donated 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to Ernie Matthews, Marianne the Night Owl, Trilmix, Rusty Longshanks, Left-Handed... Oh, no, not Left-Handed Jedi, sorry. And Tom Talty. So here we go. I'm going to pour this beer. It's a bit of a palate cleanser. Jeez. All right. Monolayer or less. Yep.
Nice.
Achieved that. So that's not a perfect beer pour, but it's good enough. It's minimum acceptable. All right, here we go. 1. Oh my god, that's so much better. 2. 3. 4. 5. I have never had a beer taste this good in my entire life. It's just the contrast. I had that one drink of beer and I was like, oh my goodness, where have you been?
So much better.
Oh, jeez. This nog is disgusting. Oh. Goodness. Bakery points out that I'm going with the minimum viable product for beer. Hey, it's a popular concept for a reason.
Somebody spent years crossbreeding dogs to develop the Chihuahua.
Okay, here we go. More hatred of Chihuahuas. Actually ran across a, okay, well, fair. Came across a Catholic young earth creationist named Pamela Acker. And she also, like, dunks on Chihuahuas for some reason. And I'm like, what is it with Gex? Why do they hate Chihuahua? Ken Ham does it. Bodie Hodge does it. Kent Hovind does it. Some chick named Pamela Acker does it. Like, what the heck? What is wrong with Chihuahua? I like Chihuahuas. I have met plenty of Chihuahuas in my time, and I generally liked all of them. Not all of
my
them.
Chihuahuas.
Rousey Faustus, member for 8 months and is at the amnio level, says, belated Merry Christmas to y'all. Hope you're doing well. I'm currently down with the flu. Well, first of all, I hope you feel better. But second, hey. Oh, sorry. Belated Merry Kentmas. All right, never mind. I don't know if Kentmas is gone yet, but Christmas is still here. All right, here we go.
Imagine that. All that work to make a dog that is 100% useless.
Oh, I hate that so much.
Yeah, we'll take a drink for that. So,
That makes me mad.
Chihuahuas were in fact bred for 2 things. One is companionship, which I don't consider useless. There's this thing that humans do called getting lonely. And you know what can help with that? A dog.
Pet dog.
Yeah, and you know what? Smaller pet dogs are easier to care for in most cases than bigger pet dogs. Which means if all you're looking for is companionship, the smaller the dog, the easier it is to take care of, which in some people's books might mean the better. Second, Chihuahuas were also, at least a little bit, seem to have been bred as, like, living hot water bottles or living electric blankets. They keep you warm, and they're small enough that you can just put them places, like at the back of your neck, or at the small of your back, or, like, at your knees. And they can just keep you warm, because, body heat. Speaking of dogs, though, I think there's a dog that's dying over there, Bent.
Yeah, there's a lot of whimpering going on.
Aw. Poor doggy.
I know.
Turn all the Chihuahuas loose back into the woods and tell me how long they'll last.
I mean, honestly, I don't know, right? I know that one of the Chihuahuas here is not the worst hunter. She's grabbed a few lizards and whatnot here and there.
Yeah.
So, like, would she make it as long in the wild as she would, living in a pampered existence as a pet? No. But would she just immediately go extinct, and assuming that she weren't already sterilized, have no chance of reproducing? I don't think so. I think she could probably do okay. Or at least other dogs like her. So...
They'd run up to the wolf. Yep, 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 yep. Crunch. End of gene pool.
I mean, to be fair, Chihuahuas can be overly aggressive towards other animals, so maybe that would be a problem.
They wouldn't survive. You have to babysit them. You got to protect them because they can't protect themselves. So that...
I mean, you ever get bit by a Chihuahua? It's not fun, Kent. It might not be as horrible an experience as getting, like, mauled by a Doberman or something, but, like, I don't want to get bit by a Chihuahua. It's not a good time. That's why I'm not going to pick a fight with a Chihuahua. I mean, also, what would I have to fight a Chihuahua over? But Savage Monkeyfish Cobra says, getting lonely has been noted in the literature as a major side effect of alienating one's entire family and multiple spouses. Ooh. Oh. Damn. Just coming right after Kent's. Wow. Bent, by the way, I think you're safe from the tutu for next week. We got a long way to go to get to a tutu.
All right.
That is an example of artificial selection where man selected a particular trait and kept selecting and selecting and ended up with a Great Dane or a Chihuahua or whatever.
Hey, Kent's right about this. This is artificial selection. We'll take a drink. Good job, Kent.
That's natural. That's artificial selection, and it works with some pretty wild varieties. But they're still a dog.
Yes, as the law of monophyly requires, Kent. That is how evolution works. And I know he's been told this to his face multiple times in multiple debates. He just doesn't care.
Yeah, he refuses to believe what evolution is. He wants to believe his own straw man version of it.
Mm-hmm. Bits of Where the Carbon Go, Roger Rage says, how well would a human do out in the woods? That depends heavily on the human, honestly. Like, if you're Bear Grylls, you're probably going to be okay. If you're, like, I don't know, some pathetic loser with no woodsman skills like some guy named Bent Hovind, then you'll probably be dead in like a day. I don't know, I just decided to randomly dig on your woodsman skills, even though I have no idea if you have them.
No, you're not wrong.
Okay, fair enough.
It's just harsh.
Sorry. Strawberry Vein for $2 says, apply doggo directly to forehead. I mean, yeah, basically. If you feel like you need a hot water bottle on your forehead and you have a Chihuahua, just stick it there, right on your head. Kerry Bronson for $5 says, Chihuahuas would crossbreed with coyotes and produce something capable of driving people to insanity. Now that would be a scary hybrid right there. Royland for $2 says, Tutu with a Godzilla and a Can't Get Bent and an AIG is a bag of dicks. So we'll take a drink for that.
Nice.
Now I want to get some drinks in because, man, this beer is so much better. It's not like drinking an entire glass of toothpaste mixed with water.
Oh, gross.
Yeah.
They still have the genes for dog. And they're still interfertile. Genetic
Okay, I don't know what the point of that statement was, but sure.
information is always lost, not added.
Except for them damn mutations, Kent. We'll take a drink for Kent forgetting that mutations exist.
It's so hard to remember that.
I know. I mean, it's not like it's one of the major aspects of evolution that you learn in,
You have to learn
school.
2 whole words that you probably already know.
Jeez.
When you get a variation like that is selected, either by artificial or natural selection, some information is lost.
Kent, have you defined information? Have you just introduced this word without giving us a rigorous definition such that we could actually measure the amount of information in, say, a wolf versus a Chihuahua? Because here's one of my favorite facts about dogs versus wolves. Dogs have 2 extra unique face muscles per eye that wolves do not have. That sounds like new information to me. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But since it hasn't been defined, I can't say for sure. Master Ryu says, dog breeds are basically a ring species. So since young Earth creationists don't believe in ring species, Chihuahuas are bad. So they're actually, I very rarely even hear them address ring species, whether it's to deny their existence, to try to explain their existence. They mostly just ignore it. And the thing is that if you come to a creationist and you really, really try to like push them to get an answer as to what happens if you have a species complex where certain members are not interfertile, but then others are, and then the intermediate areas where there's interfertility that link the two were to go extinct, leaving you with 2 non-interfertile populations. And then does that mean that they're no longer the same kind? And they'll say things like, oh, well, they descend from ancestors who could interbreed, so yes, they're still the same kind. But then that leaves us with the problem, well, then that leaves open everything as being the same kind. Because we need to have a way to find a no answer for, are these 2 animals in the same kind, right? If the only thing we can say is yes or I don't know, then there's no way to demonstrate that the kinds actually exist, right? It's kind of like, let's say the question is Bent a wizard? Bent, are you a wizard? You have a beard.
I might be.
Might be. But let's say that we had a test. Like, okay, Bent, can you cast magic missile at the darkness?
No.
Okay, well, that doesn't mean that you're not a wizard. It just means that we can't say you are a wizard. So how can we ever show that you're not a wizard?
That would be difficult,
Yeah,
if not impossible.
exactly. So can we even say that wizards exist with those kind of criteria, where we can only ever say yes if someone casts a spell, but we can't say no if they don't cast a spell? Technically, no. We can't technically say wizards don't exist. Now, if we had some other criterion, right? Like, oh, we have this machine that can test you for magical aptitude, and it turns out that no one has any. Therefore, no one's a wizard. Okay, cool. Now we have a way to say no. And now we can say that wizards probably aren't a real thing, or we can say that everyone we've tested doesn't turn out to be a wizard, or maybe we test someone and they are a wizard, and now we know that wizards are real. So you need to have a yes and a no option in this. And the no is actually more important in terms of science.
I come from Illinois, corn country. They have so many kinds of corn up there, they have to number them. You drive down the highway and you'll see, BX65, don't mix it up with XL29, something will blow up.
Take a drink.
But you can crossbreed your corn from now to the cows come home, and you always get corn.
Mm-hmm.
You will never get a hamster or a tomato or a whale to grow on that corn stalk.
Yes, Kent.
No one would expect that.
Yep, that's how evolution works. Olivia Williams says, but you can't cast magic missiles at the darkness in Dungeons & Dragons. Not if you have a crappy DM who doesn't let you. I would let you.
Nice.
Yeah. I wouldn't make sure that those missiles don't hit anything, but I'd let you spend the first level spell slot if you really want to. Like, sure, waste a spell slot. I'm not going to stop you from wasting a spell slot. Just like if you wanted to cast, like, heal wound or cure wounds at a wall, I'll let you. I don't care. I'll let you know that it normally targets creature, and you don't know of any creature to target. But if you're like, no, I cast cure wounds at the wall, I'm like, all right, nothing happens. You lose the spell slot. It's not my job to stop you from losing spell slots to stupid shenanigans.
It's not going to happen. See, variations happen within the kind, and that's all we ever observe. There's a variety of dogs, and they might have had a common ancestor. It was a dog.
Yes, and there were a variety of canids, and the common ancestor was a canid. And there's a variety of carnivorans, and the common ancestor was a carnivoran. And there's a variety of vertebrates. Bent, what do you think the common ancestor of all the vertebrates was? A vertebrate or not a vertebrate?
A vertebrate.
Whoa. What about all the common ancestor of all the animals? An animal or not an animal?
Animal.
What about the common ancestor of all the eukaryotes? A eukaryote or not a eukaryote?
Eukaryote.
You're too smart for Kent.
Well, I don't know if I can pass his quiz.
Well, fortunately, we don't have to take his quizzes.
No, we don't.
It could be that the horse and the zebra had a common ancestor. I wouldn't argue with that.
Okay,
But it looks like a horse.
so this is a few things. One, first, I don't know why he's using this Spanish language textbook. Because like you can see, it says cebra, burro, caballo. Like it is believed that zebras, donkeys, and horses are the result of a divergence from a common ancestor. Cleohippus, I don't know what tiburon, dolphin. Oh, okay. I don't know what tiburon is, but this dolphin and ichthyosaur illustrate convergence. Got it. Hey, what? Okay, Spanish speakers. What is that word? El tiburon. I don't know that word. If anyone knows, let me know, because I'm curious. But yeah, I used to see this and wonder, why is the horse like a muscle diagram? Because I was always seeing it on small little screens, and it just looked like a weird muscle diagram. It turns out, no, it's just a horse with a red coat, and that stuff that I thought was like viscera or whatever, or interstitial tissue, is just like the sheen on the coat. But for the longest, decades, I thought that Kent just had a diagram of these animals where the horse just didn't have skin for some reason. And it always creeped me out a little bit. It's like, get a better one. But yeah, tag me if you know what this word here, el tiburon, means. It's Tiburo with an accent. And Vadim Slavovsky Redchenko says it's a Hyundai car. I don't think that's true.
It is.
Oh, tiburon is a shark. Got it. Thank you. I did not know that word. Thank you. That was really helpful. That was Goop23 who said that for $2. And Tell Me More also agrees that it's the word for shark. Look, I don't know all of Spanish, right? The word for shark has just never come up for me in Spanish. I've never heard it in like a Spanish show. I've never tried to use the word shark in Spanish. No one's ever asked me about sharks in Spanish. And like, as you can see, like I know some Spanish, right? Like I could read this sentence or these 2 sentences, except for that one word. But like, I don't know all of Spanish. Even basic things like shark. I don't know. Yeah. I think I did okay with the Spanish. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah.
There you go.
It's not too complicated.
No, it's not. I mean, look, Spanish is a cool language. I love Spanish, but like when it comes to Romance languages, it's not exactly like, you know, the most complex and hard to learn of them.
Of course, I mean, stand back and look at it. Okay, it's the same kind of animal. There's varieties of cows, and they probably had a common ancestor, and it was a cow.
The word cow is a weird one in English. It specifically means a female member of the species. And like there's bull and there's you know, steer and other things, but like we don't actually just have a generic word for a member of that species. The closest we get is a head of cattle, which is a counting term applied to a non-count noun, which is, I don't like it. English needs to do better. Other languages have a non-gender or non-sex specific term for this. English needs to get on the ball with that. Yeah. Robert Madewell, who's been a member for 31 months and is at the Amnio level, says, I think Kent is using a Spanish textbook, might be for cherry-picking reasons with a Godzilla. We'll take a drink for the Godzilla. I don't know, because, I mean, I can imagine a very similar diagram in an English language or French or whatever textbook. I don't know. Wait, Sydney Raptor says, Spanish borrowed the word tiburon from Carib Indians, and later the English borrowed tiburon from the Spanish and used it for about 100 years. Wait, really? What was the Spanish word for shark before that? And is that, like, the word used in Europe for shark? Or is that just a New World Spanish thing? Aunt Jer says, no one's judging you for not knowing tiburon. I'm judging me. Louis Williams says it's the same for French. Wait.
I knew it was a car, but...
The French word for shark is it like tiburon? No. Yeah, and then Grandma Foreskin Knee says, wait, Spain didn't have a word for shark until colonizing the Americas? Yeah, there's got to be more to this, right? There must have been a word for shark, right? This is a mystery. I'm going to have to look into this. This is the next thing I'm going to start researching is, like, words for shark in various European languages and how they're connected to, like, Native American languages and whatnot. This is very strange. This is not what I was expecting.
There are all kinds of varieties, but that they're limited at that. Okay, and you have to stress that. If somebody says, we've got evidence for evolution...
Astor Ryu says, Ken's probably using the Spanish diagram so his viewers can't read it and have to take his word. But the thing is, like, even if they can read it, like, there's nothing that's really all that contradictory to what Kent's saying. He's just saying, look, see, this is a thing that evolutionists say, which all of it is. And he's saying, I don't think it supports evolution because I think it supports divergence and variation within kinds. So I don't know. Caden Slinker says, have you been watching Edge's most recent Paleo Rewind? I've not gotten around to it. It is one of the things that's on my to-do list. So, not yet is the answer. Oh, Olivia Williams was talking about cows like vache and bœuf. Yeah, okay. Okay. Sorry. I thought you were talking about sharks, and I was like, I don't know the French word for shark. I do know the words like vache, bœuf, and whatnot. So, Lance's Paleo Corner says, tiburon is Spanish for non-petable dolphin.
I'll always give you an example of microevolution. Always. Never anything beyond that.
Actually, Kent, if it's speciation, which is what you did show us, then it is macroevolution. Because remember, macroevolution is any evolution that occurs at or above the level of new species being created. So that is macroevolution.
No animal changing from one kind into another. See, what happened, Hutton wrote his book in the late 1700s, 1795, and that book began to take away the idea of a 6,000-year Earth.
You know, because of all the, what's it called? Is it
evidence?
Oh, you're right, it is evidence. That is the word I was looking for, yeah. MK Ultra for 6 shekels says, is shark kind in French charcuterie? Charcuterie. That's obviously French for shark. Although it occurs to me, I don't actually know the French word for shark. So someone let me know, like tag me, like, oh, hey, Dapper, the French word for shark is, and then just like copy paste it from like Google Translate.
People began to believe the Earth is millions of years old.
Okay, kind of. Hutton was pretty agnostic about the actual age of the Earth. Both he and Lyell didn't put an upper limit on it because they could not find any evident beginning from which there was no obvious earlier history. And because they were aware of like the basics of the rock cycle, they thought that the earliest rocks that had been formed on Earth would have long since gone away completely. And they were mostly right about that. And so they were like, so the Earth is definitely hundreds of thousands, probably millions of years old. But how old actually is it? They held open that it could have been infinitely old. They held open that it could have been a few million years old. So basically anything from a few million to infinitely is how old Hutton and Lyell were able to say the Earth was. I can't. I don't like that word. I like tiburon better. Spanish wins this round. I think the French need to adopt the Spanish word. No, I can't. No, not a big fan. Don't like it. Alright. Sorry, French. Look, overall, I like French as a language, but not a big fan of this word.
What's the Klingon word for shark?
That's a great question. I don't actually know if there is one. Let's find out. Let's open up my dictionary app for Klingon, Bokwit, and type in shark. Nor. It sounds way too much like one of the comic relief characters from Power Rangers Operation Overdrive, whose name is Norg.
So.
Oh, you'll find out. You won't like it, but you'll find out.
Oh, no.
There's an episode where the Rangers think that they've seen Bigfoot, but they actually saw Norg, despite the fact that in previous episodes, they had extensive interactions with Norg.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's one of the worst seasons. Actually, might be the worst season. A friend of mine was at a Comic-Con, and she sent me a picture, and she was like, look, the guy who played Tyzon from Power Rangers is here. I was like, oh, from Operation Overdrive? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, that's what he's from. It's like the worst season of Power Rangers. No, that's too bad. I'm like, hey, no shade on that guy. It's not his fault. It's definitely the writer's fault. But
that's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, it's also partly Disney's fault. Because the writers had a cool idea about like going all over the world to various places to do like Indiana Jones style archaeology adventures. And then Disney was like, yeah, that sounds great. Do a treatment of that. And then Disney gave them like a third of the budget they asked for. And we're like, yeah, no, keep doing the whole theme. And they were like, we literally can't. You haven't given us the money. So there's this one bit where they're going through an ancient Egyptian tomb that's clearly just an old building with fake cobwebs and some cheap plaster statues in it. Yeah, it's really bad.
Oh, no.
Or at least, hundreds of thousands of years old in 1795. And then along came Charlie Lyell and wrote this book, Principles of Geology, and he took away the flood.
Kind of. I mean, Hutton was not exactly super compatible with the flood, but yeah. Asta Ryu says, worse than Samurai with a Godzilla? Yes. Okay, so here's the thing. Samurai and Super Samurai had worse acting by a lot. The acting in Samurai and Super Samurai was basically non-existent. It was just a bunch of people saying the most stilted lines in the most stilted way possible. But it looked okay. And you could tell that like they got the budget they asked for, they just spent it poorly. So like it's rough, right? Like I tried to watch some of it not that long ago, and I stopped. But yeah, no, I would rather watch Samurai than Operation Overdrive. The acting is better in Operation Overdrive, I'll give you that. But overall, it's so bad. But yeah, Samurai is atrocious.
After people read this...
Sorry?
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, on the bright side, before we get to Samurai, we can get to Power Rangers RPM, which is one of the best seasons of Power Rangers.
Oh, good.
Plus, it has the one who's Scottish.
Okay.
Book, they said, wow, maybe those layers weren't formed by a flood. Maybe they're...
because it's physically impossible for most of them to have been formed by a flood. It's minor inconveniences for flood geology.
Details.
By the way, I just realized we've gone over our break time. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go grab myself another beer, take a quick break. If you want to, you can use the bathroom or whatever. But in the meantime, you guys are going to be able to listen to the musical stylings of some guy who's really bad at surviving in the woods, I guess. Oh, yeah, it's Beethoven. All right, well, enjoy that, and then we will be right back. All right, we are back. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, Bent.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
It is. I have myself a nice new cold beer, although I don't need it quite yet. So we'll give the quick after the break little talk, if you will. So, as you guys may or may not know, this channel is almost entirely supported directly through your support, whether it be through super chats, Patreon, the super thanks, super stickers, all those things. I'm going to mute you just for a little bit while you work on that drink, because for some reason it's really getting picked up by your mic. No, that's all right. So, if you are someone who is currently not directly supporting, and you think that that's something that you want to do, if you don't, then please don't bother. But if you want to do it, and you can afford to, I don't want to take anyone's money that can't afford it, then there are a number of great ways to help out the channel. One of the best ways is the Patreon. The Patreon allows you to pledge monthly or annually. You get a 15% discount for pledging annually. It starts as low as $1 a month, or again, less than $11 if you go the full annual. You can go all the way up to $100 if you want. There are increasing rewards the higher you go. Even at the $1 tier, you get access to months and months worth of Dapper Dinosaur content. At higher tiers, you can get your name in the credits. You can get me to say your name. You can get special items. Everyone who's pledged there at $10 or above already has access now to a Blender file that makes a procedural Festivus pole with a bunch of sliders that you can adjust. You can just set the size of various parts of the Festivus pole. I think it's actually a pretty cool little thing. And that also, there's the channel memberships, which has almost the exact same thing. It starts at $1.99, it goes up to $20, It's per month. There's no annual thing, but it also gives you the cool green name, the badge after your name, gives you access to early access to various to the same videos. You can still get your name in the credits, all that same stuff. Either way, you get into the special Discord server, which is the Discord server that I check by far the most often. It's basically one of the only Discord servers that I check regularly. It's one of the best ways to contact me if you need to. Although please don't contact me if what you are asking me is, hey Dapper, what's the first result on Google say about this thing? Because in that case, you should just Google it. Contact me after you check the top 5 results on Google for your question. After that, then maybe contact me about the question. Just say, every once in a while I get something like, hey Dapper, is Tyrannosaurus related to Triceratops? I'm like, why are you asking me this? Yes, of course they are. I don't. Universal common ancestry is called universal common ancestry for a reason. Anyway, if a monthly or an annual thing isn't your deal, but you still want to help out, there's a merch store linked in the description. Also, Bent has his own Patreon if you want to give to Bent directly. Bent also has an Amazon wishlist listed in there. So, it's still Christmas, which means, if you wanted to get either of us a Christmas present, there's still plenty of time to do that. I don't know what Bent has on his, but I have mostly a bunch of books. Bent, what do you have on yours?
Food.
There you go. I have a little bit of food on mine too. Although I don't need the rice. Don't give me the rice. I've got so much rice.
50+ pounds.
Yeah. But yeah, there's also a merch store where we have t-shirts, mugs, baby onesies, phone cases, stickers, towels, blankets, pillows, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, there's that. And if none of that's right for you, if monetary support isn't something you want to do or that you just can't afford to do it, that's great. Please like this video. Make sure you share it. And yeah, just watch as many of my videos as you can, as often as you reasonably can. That will also help out the channel immensely. So with that out of the way, though, let's get back to Kent.
Formed by, millions of years of slow accumulation. And this book really changed people's worldview. And then along came Charlie Darwin.
I kind of hate the degree to which creationists use the word worldview. It's literally just it changed how people think about geology. It didn't change them to being atheists when they weren't. It didn't change them from being Christians to Muslim or Buddhist or anything. It literally just changed how they thought about rocks. And I don't know about you, Bent, but I don't think about rocks that much. How often do you think about rocks?
Pretty rarely, I would say.
I probably think about rocks a lot more than you, too, and I don't even think I think about them that much. DM...
It's very rare.
Yeah. DM Vegan Holiday Beverage Wing for $2 says, wait, Dapper, did you need rice with the Godzilla? So we'll take a drink for the Godzilla. No, I have 45 pounds of rice right now. It's ridiculous. Actually, I think it might be closer to 50 pounds of rice right now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's dry rice, by the way. Roasting a Killer 999 says, I bet you could swap one of these Kent with Bents with a recent video of Hovens and no one would notice. You notice because it's higher definition, and Kent looks older, and he's no longer wearing cool ties. He's now wearing exclusively Hawaiian shirts. So that's how you tell. All right. Let's continue on.
And wrote this book, The Origin of Species, and he took away the creator.
No, he didn't. Actually, if you read the Darwin's Origin of Species, it's full of references to a creator. In fact, if you just read that book, and that was how that was your knowledge base for biology, you would think that there is a creator who created the first life. Because Darwin talks about the creator all the time. It's all over the place. Okay, we can just look up online Origin of Species. Origin of Species. Full text. Also, Christopher Kennedy Atheist, who's been a member for 11 months. Thank you so much. And at the amnio level, says, for Saturnalia, I sent AIG a satanic stocking of sweaty salami sticks soaked in special sauce. Gross. Take a drink. So Project Gutenberg, let's see if you've got the full text. Looks like, so we'll use the 1872 6th edition, which is the final version. All right. Control F. Creator. Pops up 9 times. He who believes in separate and innumerable acts of creation may say that in these cases he has pleased the Creator to cause a being of one type to take the place of one belonging to another type, but this seems to me to be only restraining the fact in dignified language. Okay, no atheism there. Here's another one. Have we any right to assume that the Creator works by intellectual powers like that of man? I mean, that's just Darwin assuming the Creator is a background assumption. Let's see. Let this process go on for millions of years, and during each year on millions of individuals of many kinds, and may we not believing that a living and may we not believe that a living optical instrument might thus be formed as superior to one of glass, as the works of the Creator are to those of man, again, assuming a Creator exists, just out there. Bitcore's member for 10 months and is at the tetrapod level, says, yeah, but Kent doesn't know because he can't read. True. Okay, here's another one. They believe that many structures have been created for the sake of beauty to delight man or the Creator, but this latter point is beyond the scope of scientific discussion, or for the sake of mere variety, a view already discussed. Again, just assuming the Creator exists, right there in the text of The Origin of Species. Let's see. But many naturalists think that something more is meant by natural selection. They believe it reveals the plan of the Creator, but unless it be specified whether order in time or space or both, or what else is meant by the plan of the Creator, it seems to me that nothing is thus added to our knowledge. This is not really supporting the existence of a Creator, so it's certainly not denying the existence of a Creator. Let's see. On the ordinary view of the independent creation of each being, we can only say that it has pleased the Creator to construct all animals and plants in each great class on a uniform plan, but this is not a scientific explanation. Again, just kind of assuming the Creator exists. To my mind, it accords better with what we know of the laws impressed on matter by the Creator. The production and extinction of the past and present inhabitants of the world should have been due to secondary causes like those determining the birth and death of the individual. Again, Darwin in his book just assuming there's a Creator. And last, but certainly not least, we come to, there is grandeur in this view of life with its several powers having been originally breathed by the Creator into a few forms or into one, and that whilst this planet has gone circling on according to the fixed law of gravity, I think there's a word missing here in this text. A form so simple, a beginning endless, forms most beautiful and most wonderful have been and are being evolved. Again, Darwin explicitly stating that there's a Creator in his text. So, Kent, you said that Darwin book said there was no Creator, and it took away the Creator. The test says that's a lie, so we'll take a drink.
I don't think he's ever read The Origin of Species.
Oh, almost certainly not. No. Otherwise, he would know that Darwin repeatedly says that there's a Creator in that book. Now, Darwin did die at least an agnostic, probably an atheist. I think he does self-identify at one point as an atheist. So, Darwin did die an atheist, as far as anyone can tell. However, when he was writing this book, he's repeatedly referring to a Creator in a way that just assumes that a Creator exists or explicitly attributes the creation of life to the Creator. So, I don't know, maybe Kent could stop lying about Darwin, which is a really weird trope with young Earth creationists. They love to lie about Darwin, and I don't get why. I mean, I kind of do, because they want to treat him like he's the prophet of evolution, as like, just like Moses is like the prophet of Judaism, or Jesus is like, well, he's the prophet on a number of other things of Christianity, and Muhammad's the prophet of Islam. Like, yeah, Darwin's the prophet of evolutionism, which is not how anyone treats Darwin.
Everybody started thinking, well, maybe we got here without a Creator. Maybe evolution is how it happened.
Caden Slinker says that they're working on a fan-made, potentially official, if I get the licensed Godzilla film. Would I like to see the script? I mean, yeah, probably.
And boy, people's worldview was changed. And those three false teachings are still in textbooks today. They're still teaching the Earth is millions of years old.
Because it is. We'll take a drink.
They're still teaching today's processes created the Earth.
Kind of. They're teaching that the physical processes that created the various rocks of the Earth in the past were compatible with physics as we understand them, and that there was no change in how physics works in the past. So that's kind of.
And created the canyons and all the features we see, and it avoids the obvious use of catastrophes to create these things.
Actually, no, it doesn't. The standard explanation for various things is in fact catastrophic. One of my favorite examples is the scablands in eastern Washington and parts of Oregon, which in fact are caused by a absurdly gigantic flood, and we happen to know that. Or what is it? That crater in Arizona. What's it called?
Behringer crater.
Behringer. Thank you very much. Behringer crater in Arizona.
Yay.
Very obviously caused by a catastrophe in the sense of an asteroid impacting in Arizona. You can go there. The crater, like the asteroid, barely missed the visitor center. It's very lucky.
And they're still teaching evolution occurs. That stuff's in textbooks right now.
I mean, yeah.
Of course it's in textbooks, Kent. It's true.
Evolution is occurring right now. I'm just taking a drink.
Now in your county and my county.
And your county, and your county, and your... Ken should do a Oprah Winfrey right there. Yeah, and you get an evolution textbook, and you get an evolution textbook, and you get an evolution textbook, and then all the middle-aged white ladies stand up and start clapping and yay, we get textbooks. It wouldn't be as impressive. And to be fair, they weren't all white ladies, but come on. It was daytime TV, primarily aimed at women. Most of the women who were watching that were middle-aged white women. Because they're the ones who could afford to do things like not provide an extra income for the family. Which is, nowadays, that's not anything anyone seems to have the privilege of, except unless you're super wealthy. I don't know of any single income households anymore.
Yeah, there aren't too many left.
Yeah.
The Bible warned us about science that is falsely so-called. Now, I like science, and I've got tons of science books.
Sure you do, Ken.
But science that...
I mean, he owns a bunch of textbooks, which is what he thinks science books are. He's got a bunch of textbooks for 5th graders. He's see, look at my library of scientific publications. It's oh, okay. And you own them, but have you ever bothered to try to understand them? No.
No.
NC Farino says most were white women. I mean, yeah, they definitely were mostly white women. But I mean, hey, you know what? Oprah did super well for herself, and I do not begrudge her that one bit. Good for her.
Yeah, good job.
Is falsely so-called, that's where evolution fits in.
That's not to say I support everything she's ever done. I'm just saying that she did well for herself, and good on her.
It is called science, but it should not be called science. It's...
science falsely so-called. Okay, so let's pull this up. 1 Timothy, a book not written by Timothy. 6. Let's go with 6. 1 Timothy 6. What do we get? So I'm going to go to Bible Gateway. And we're going to check the KJV first. I'm going to continue without supporting because, I mean, you know how many places I can get the Bible for free besides Bible Gateway? I'm not going to give you guys money for something that so many other people are giving me.
Don't forget Bible Hub.
One of the hubs.
It is.
It's not the most popular hub. That's
No,
Debate Hub, obviously.
Obviously.
O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called, which some professing have erred concerning the faith. Grace be with thee. Amen. Okay, well, cool. But science back in the 1611 days when the KJV was published basically just meant knowledge or teachings. It doesn't really refer to what we think of as science specifically. Yes, Olivia Williams, it was also not written by Paul. However, it claims to have been written by Paul. And so from Kent's perspective, the correct answer is it was written by Paul. So that is why I will tell him that it was written by Paul, because according to his own view of the Bible, it was. So let's see. Let's check the ESV, the English Standard Version. Where did it... There you are. So we'll check the same verse. Oh, Timothy, guard the deposit entrusted to you. Avoid the irreverent babble and contradictions of what is falsely called knowledge, for by professing it, some have swerved from the faith. So here he's not really calling out knowledge, but let's see what it says in Greek. So I'm switching to all. I don't remember if Greek comes under G or H. Oh, it comes under K, of course. Jeez. Because it's Kini. Got it. We'll go with the Westcott Hort New Testament. It doesn't matter much. There's very little variation. Let's see. O Timothy tin parthenikin philoxon extrepomenos tas beblilus, that's babbling, kenothonias kai antithesis tis pseudon pseudonumo, I can't talk. Let's see. Theoseos, I'm very, very rusty at Greek in case you can't tell. Tines,
Better than I could do.
Epangelomenoi, Peritin Pistin, that's the faith. Isto Chisan I Charis Meth Imon. So let's get a nice translation there. So that's yeah. So let's see. What is the big word what is the big word that we're worrying about here? So really what we're looking for is gnoseos, which is really just knowledge, right? Gnoseos is it is yeah, it's the nominative of knowledge. And if we like look up this word gnoseos, we just Google search it and we type in like definition. Let's see. Inquiry, knowledge, fame. Yeah, this is not specifically talking about modern science. Gnoseos does not mean knowledge in the modern sense. No, the KJV is not the Greek version. That is incorrect. It's Vadim. All right. The thing that I love about fact-checking Kent on original languages is that he has even less ability with these languages than I do. And look, you just saw it. I'm really rusty at Greek, right? My Greek it's pretty iffy, but it's better than Kent's. I can actually check what words mean. I can double check. I'm familiar with a bunch of them.
Actually a religious worldview. There is no scientific evidence to back it up.
I mean, except for all that scientific evidence in things like ERVs, homology, neutral variation, the twin-nested hierarchy, fossils. It just kind of keeps going.
And even Christians that go to college and learn this stuff have their faith destroyed. This professor said, as were many persons.
Hey, Kent, do you think maybe the problem is that they're being told about science and therefore their faith is destroyed? You think it's the science that's the problem, or you think maybe it's all of the lies that you tell them and then say that this is a key part of your religion and you can't just reject this stuff that I'm lying to you about? Because I don't know, if I had grown up being told that my religion required me to believe that the sky is always purple, and I had lived my whole life in a cave, I might believe that. But then when I went out, would it be really a shock to anyone that when I looked up and saw a blue sky that maybe I'd be like, well, because that was all bullshit?
Yeah.
Yeah. DM Vegan Holiday Beverage Wing for $5 says, clearly a naive reading of the KJV in modern English is the correct interpretation of Godzilla. Yeah, obviously. The only option. Semantic shift? What's that? Sounds made up. Actually, no, it's a linguistic process by which the same word can take on new meanings over time and lose old meanings over time. It's a real thing.
From Alabama. I was a born-again Christian. When I was 15, I entered the Southern Baptist Church with great fervor and interest in the fundamentalist religion. I left at 17 when I got to the University of Alabama and heard about evolution theory.
Sounds like that guy, E.O. Wilson, maybe shouldn't have been lied to by people like Kent his whole life, who were telling him that was the only real way to be a Christian and that this was how Christianity worked.
That's a shame.
Or, I mean, if you're not someone who cares about keeping Christianity going, I guess then, hey, more young earth creationism and Christianity. Go for it.
And that professor now teaches at Harvard University and destroys the faith of thousands of other kids who come through his class.
Okay, I will say this. If he has it as his goal to deconvert them from their religion as a result of his classes, that is inappropriate, and I do not like that. I don't know if he does, though, so I'm not going to say that's what's going on. It's what Ken thinks is going on. But I can say that I was never pressured to convert or deconvert from or to any religion while I was in college, despite taking numerous classes that, if true, would violate various aspects of Kent's version of Christianity. So, I don't know, Ben, did you have a different experience than that?
No, not really.
If anyone is having an experience of a professor trying to actively convert or deconvert them to or from any religion, feel free to let me know about that, because I will try to make that public if I can. That's not okay. It's not the job of a professor. Professors are there to teach you about their subject, and if that subject happens to contradict what you believe as part of your religion, then so be it. But they should not be actively trying to get you to change your religious affiliation. Pastor Ryu says, semantic drift. Did all that happen in Babel? Yes, it all happened in Babel. Since then, all languages have been fixed. Yep. Modern English rolled right out of Babel.
Because he went off to school unprepared.
No, Ken, it sounds like he went to school prepared by people like you.
Yeah.
To handle the evolution.
I'm sorry. What was that?
Misprepared.
Yeah, misprepared. That's a good way to put it.
Philosophy that was going to be crammed down his throat, and he believed it.
Kent, given what I know about you, maybe refrain from talking about things being crammed down other people's throats. Just putting it out there.
Especially at 17, you got to figure the hormones develop faster than the brain.
I mean, it was probably 18 and 19 before this happened, but sure, whatever.
Satan knows to get the kids the first couple years of college because they kind of like an idea to get away from God anyway, and the restrictions of the Christian fundamentalist religion.
He earlier said that he was a fervent member of Southern Baptist religion, and it was not like wild promiscuity or drug-filled rock and roll orgies that deconverted him, Kent. That's not what he's saying happened. Now, I don't know E.O. Wilson, was it? Williams? I'm not sure. Wilson? I don't know that guy. I've never really heard of him. Maybe that is what did it, but it's certainly not what he had written there. And Kent, you don't get to just change his story because it better fits your idea. Because remember, Kent is one of those guys who's like, well, you only believe in evolution because you're horny. No, actually, Kent, most people both believe in evolution and are horny for different reasons. Some people aren't either, or aren't one or the other. They're out there.
Thou shalt not commit adultery and stealing and lying and all these kind of stuff.
I'm sorry, do you think he was going around stealing while he was in college? I don't think I stole anything while I was in college. I mean, maybe I accidentally took home a pen or something.
I stole some hearts, but that's about it.
Oh, Bent. How dare you? But yeah, I don't think E.O. Wilson was going around like, I don't know, sticking up the local corner shops or anything. I used to work at a corner shop. Wasn't the worst. Although, I definitely made out better than that other guy I know who was stabbed to death outside of a corner shop on his break. Yeah.
That sounds awful.
That's actually why I got some, like, not technically emergency leave, but, like, I got my leave approved. Like, I was walking back from the ship, and I got a phone call about that, and I turned right around to go request leave. Like, after hours, right? And so, like, the duty chief is there, and he's like, this is really short notice. And we're going to have to, like, stretch the watch schedule, or the watch rotation to cover this. Do you really think this is an appropriate thing to do? I'm like, oh, sorry, chief. I don't decide when my friends get murdered back home. Would you like me to ignore that? He's like, oh, is that what happened? Okay, here you go. And he signed it, and I, like, hand walked it over to the reactor officer office.
Well, there's the hat.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's pretty nice to not have a God telling you what to do, especially in a prosperous country like America.
I don't know. I mean, divine command theory is super easy. It's like, hey, what's the right thing to do? Oh, whatever it says in this book that was purportedly written by God. That's pretty handy. That's really easy. I mean, you don't have to wrestle with deep philosophical questions about what is the good? How can we determine whether actions are moral or not? It just says it in a book somewhere. So I'll just do that. That's a lazy way to do moral philosophy, honestly. And there's a reason why most theistic moral philosophers actually reject divine command theory as a useful way to determine morality, right? Like, there are Christian moral philosophers. Most of them aren't divine command theorists. There are various things like they're like Kantians or consequentialists or virtue ethicists and things like this, right? Like, they generally don't accept divine command theory as a useful way to talk about morality. So,
Nobody wants, restrictions on their lifestyle because they're so.
I mean, I do. There are definitely things that if I did not have like consequences for, I would at least be tempted to do that I shouldn't do. And that's because I'm an imperfect person, and I recognize that. There are definitely things that I wanted to do that I didn't do because there would be consequences. I'm not proud of that fact. I'm not happy about that fact. But I'm glad that there were those consequences, so I didn't do those things. Because now here I am years later, and I'm like, yeah, geez, it's a really good thing I didn't do that thing I wanted to do.
So many opportunities to sin. And as the Bible says, there's pleasure in sin for a season. That season will come to an end, and then you got to reap what you sowed.
It's fun how a lot of times, though, the things that he thinks are sin, you really only reap the negative consequences in this post-death situation that he has trouble demonstrating actually exist, which basically means he's just trying to scare you straight with things that he can't demonstrate. Now, it's not me denying that there's an afterlife. I'm not taking a position on that. I'm just pointing out that when your proposed penalties for a thing only occur because of some guy telling you it's bad, and then also because it's going to happen after death, so you can't really show that it's going to happen or not, it's a little convenient. It kind of reminds me of, I remember I was in one of those anti-drug classes in school, right? And there was a police officer who came in, and he's like, so don't do marijuana, kids. It'll ruin your life. It's like, how so? What's it going to do? Like, well, you could end up in prison. Like, okay, but that's something that you're doing. You're saying you're going to ruin my life if I do this thing. Right? That's you doing a thing to me. That's not the marijuana doing it.
That's not the plant doing it.
Yeah. There's a difference there. Now, in some cases, sure, things that I do think should be controlled, you might end up getting away with, right? Like, I don't think fraud should just be allowed, but in the real world where we actually live, a lot of people commit fraud and get away with it. I'm not happy about it, but like, yeah, it's probably not going to ruin their lives. So, okay. Carrie Bronson for $5 says, it's also nice to hear that God is on your side, so whatever you do will be okay, so go forth with a clean conscience. Yeah, there's one thing. Okay, so I'm not super confident that I can very well support this, because I don't currently have the reference. But I do remember reading a study about people doing brain scans and being asked hypothetical moral questions. And then when they were asked how someone else, in particular, they knew, would feel about a certain moral dilemma, they accessed a part of their brain that had to do with things like empathy and thinking about others and whatnot. And then when they were asked what they thought about moral questions, they accessed a different part of their brain that was used for like self-referential things. But then when asked what God thought about certain moral questions, they accessed the same part of their brain that they used to think about themselves in terms of moral questions. So it's probably not just a coincidence that what people think God wants tends to be what they think they want. And the causal directionality there is probably more likely that most people think that God wants what they already believe, and then they trick themselves into believing that they already want those things because God wanted them in the first place. Is that how it works for everyone? I don't know. But I don't know too many people who came to a firm moral conclusion as a result of ignoring anything to do with religion or God, and then became religious and switched that moral conclusion as a result. Most people very little change their religion or their moral philosophy and their moral stances when they change religion. Now, there's some minor exceptions, right? Like when people deconvert from particularly homophobic branches of certain religions, they tend to become less homophobic and whatnot. Like, it's in there, but like, you're not likely to like change your basic stance on like theft or murder or something.
Do you know 75% of all the kids that go from Christian homes to secular universities, public schools, and universities will lose their faith?
I don't know that. I'm not sure that's true. I would love to see the study.
After 1 year of college.
That's a very short time. Hey, Bent, how many years of college did it take for you to lose your faith?
Infinity.
Okay.
which I haven't reached yet.
Okay.
I remember my freshman year at Illinois Central College. I had teachers who thought it was their duty in life to destroy my faith as a Christian.
That's a story that didn't happen. I don't believe him.
He's just lying.
Hey, that means it's time for a new beer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Having the vegan holiday beverage kind of messed up my normal pacing for the beer. Yeah, my plan was to drink more of that next week because it'll still be Christmas. I am seriously reconsidering that decision. That stuff might just get dumped down the sink.
Do it if you don't want to.
Yeah. That stuff might just get dumped down the sink. I might actually just make my own eggnog. It's not like it's impossible to make. You can just do it. I mean, it's mostly egg and milk, and then some spices and sugar and whatnot.
And it was a trial and a struggle.
Is that why you quit and then went to not one, but 2 different non-accredited diploma mills, Kent? I feel like the actual struggle and the actual trial was not about your faith, Kent. It was just about your intellectual ability because you realized you couldn't hack it at a school that had actual academic standards. But maybe that's just me being a cynical asshole.
Maybe not.
And if you go to a secular college, I guarantee you'll have at least one, probably several, but you'll have some teachers who just think it's their duty in life to ruin your faith.
Again, if you find a professor like this, please let me know about it because I want to call that out because that is some BS.
Yes, that never happened. I know he's lying.
Savage Monkeyfish Cobra says, 4 years of college did destroy my faith. Of course, the bit that is inconvenient for Kent is that it was a very evangelical university. No. See, Satan infiltrated your evangelical university and he tricked the professors into telling you things that you only thought were true and that actually were wrong. Because Satan is in charge of all the schools, except the ones Kent went to. You should go to those schools.
Right.
And they've got all their pet questions they'll ask you, can God make a rock so big you can't lift it, and all this.
I've literally never been asked that by anyone in my college days, no matter how many philosophy courses I went to. I'm taking a drink. This is just the thing that didn't happen.
Yeah, I was asked that as more of like a joke when I was younger.
Yeah. So what it comes down to is there are 2 different definitions of omnipotence. One is that omnipotence is the ability to do anything, whether it is logically consistent or not. The other one is that omnipotence is the ability to do anything that is logically consistent. So, if it is the first one, where omnipotence is the ability to do anything regardless of whether or not it's logically consistent, then the answer is yes. God can make a rock so large that he can't lift it, and then he can lift it anyway, even though he can't, because that's not logically consistent, but that's okay because that's what omnipotence means. The other one is no, because there is no such thing as a rock that is so large that God can't lift it, because God can lift rocks of any arbitrary size. That's logically consistent. And you asking a question that fundamentally doesn't make sense doesn't negate God's omnipotence. Now, this is not an argument that I'm giving for God or against God. It is just pointing out that particular argument about omnipotence kind of fails because the only 2 realistic definitions for omnipotence that are ever given any support by theists who believe in an omnipotent God, neither one of them are posed a problem by that particular question. So you need a better question in order to say that omnipotence doesn't make sense. Because either it doesn't make sense, but it's there anyway, in which case it doesn't matter, or it does make sense, and the fact that it does make sense doesn't negate its omnipotence because you're getting the wrong definition for what the person that you're talking to is using to mean omnipotence. So there you go. Get a better argument. And I will say that actual atheist philosophers agree with me on this. Like, you can go read, Hoppe, and, he's going to agree with me that that's a bad argument. You shouldn't use it. And he's going to give you other better arguments against God, which I'm not going to get into them because it's not my job here to give, all the great arguments against God or for God. I'm saying that's a bad one.
This kind of stuff, if God is good, why is there evil in the world?
Now, that's a harder question to answer. There are various theodicies that attempt to answer it, and some people don't find that to be a particularly convincing argument, even if they don't have a good answer for it. But, at least it's one that requires arguments beyond, well, that question doesn't make sense, so we're not going to address it.
And all these questions have been answered years ago, but they'll bring them up.
They've been given answers. Many of the answers are not convincing to many people for various reasons. So, for instance, the argument of evil. I've never heard a theodicy that I couldn't find at least someone who found that argument unconvincing for reasonable reasons. So, you know, there are answers that have been given. Whether or not they're actually sufficient to dismiss the challenge is another question entirely. And I don't think it's terribly well resolved in like philosophy. And you can just tell basically on the fact that there are both theistic and atheistic philosophers still arguing about it without ever coming to a consensus, either within or between themselves.
To the freshman who doesn't have an answer, and the kid goes home and starts to lose his confidence in God's word. And then, of course, he's away from home, and he's got the peer pressure of his friends who are drinking and have premarital sex and all this kind of stuff, and it just it destroys a large percentage of them.
Man, what do you think he would think of me drinking this beer?
He'd probably judge you as an atheist, evolutionist.
Okay, but I'm
drinker.
Not currently having premarital sex, though.
Well, that's probably good. I mean, because you're doing a show right now, that would be distracting.
Good point. It would be really distracting. Okay, yeah.
Now, as much as I like science, and there's an awful lot of good science in these books, there's some poison in there.
Is it the cyanide that results from all those people who from eating almonds like you tell them to? Not almonds. Apricot pits. Apricot pits. Is that the poison, Kent?
Kids love to learn. I mean, that's normal. I think it's a God-given trait where people want to learn. I like to learn things, okay? But what are we teaching them anyway?
I don't believe him.
Yeah, I don't believe him either.
Like to learn.
No, I mean, the fact is that you just haven't actually seen him learn in like 4 decades, right? Like you can look back 40 years ago, right? Back into like the 80s, and Kent was saying the exact same crap that he's saying now.
Yeah.
Oh, Alia Jane is engaging in some premarital drinking. All right, there you go. That's Actually, I lived in Massachusetts, and in Massachusetts, if you were 21 or over, and your spouse was under 21, you could give your spouse alcohol legally. And but if it wasn't your spouse and you gave them alcohol, then it's illegal. So premarital drinking actually is like kind of a thing in Massachusetts. So,
Everybody tries to convert others to believe like they believe.
That's not true. There are many religions that don't really engage in proselytism. Jews famously don't proselytize. Zoroastrians don't proselytize. The Druze don't even accept converts. The Samaritan Israelites don't even accept convert. Well, okay. They officially accept as converts women who marry Samaritan men. But other than that, they don't generally accept converts. You can't just become a Samaritan. Buddhism has sent out missionaries here and there, but by and large, most Buddhist groups do not proselytize. Hinduism doesn't proselytize. It's just not true that everyone's out there trying to proselytize for their religion. It's just blatantly false. We're taking a drink for it. Because not every religion operates like Christianity. Now, Christianity and Islam are both heavily proselytizing religions, right? It's one of the reasons why they tend to butt heads a lot. And it also is probably the reason why they're the 2 biggest religions in the world, together making up like half the world's population?
Something like that.
But yeah, it is not true that everyone proselytizes. Now, on the other hand, I do not, in principle, think that it's not okay. So I do think it's okay for you to try to convince people to agree with your ideas. Now, that might be religious, but it can also often just be like political or scientific or just like art-based or just which video game is good, right? Like I've been known to quote-unquote proselytize for video games that I really like and maybe want to play with other people. And that's okay, in my book. But it is not true that every religion proselytizes. It's just blatantly false.
Working to get you converted to believe like I believe. I believe the Bible is the infallible, inspired, inerrant Word of God. I believe we're going to be judged one day before God, and you better get right with God or you're going to hell if you're not saved. And if you are saved, you better keep your heart right with God or you're going to be punished by your Heavenly Father.
Kent, you're a once saved, always saved kind of guy. And you don't believe in purgatory. So where's that punishment coming in? You think he believes in the aerial toll houses?
Even he doesn't understand what he doesn't. Believes.
What do you think? You think he might be an aerial toll house kind of guy?
I don't know.
You're probably not aware of the aerial toll houses, are you?
I don't know, maybe.
it's a belief that comes up in Eastern Christianity, and the idea is that that when you die, any unrepented sins or sinful tendencies still have to be cleansed, and they're cleansed in these things that are imagined to be like toll houses that you go to on your way to the afterlife, and in them you are cleansed of the various sins that you have. And it's not quite purgatory in the sense of like, the Catholic Church is like, oh, you're going to be in purgatory for 1,000 years for this sin, and maybe people can pray for you to get you less time. It's usually considered to be a much shorter kind of a purification situation, but it's similar in theme to purgatory, which is the idea that if you die and you still have some sins, but you're on your way to a salvation type afterlife, you need to have that sinfulness purged out of you, and that happens at some point after death. Maybe Kent's a aerial toll house kind of guy. I don't know. Not even all Eastern Christians are big fans of the aerial toll house. It's not like it's a required belief to be like a Copt or Eastern Orthodox or Church of the East or anything like that. So
I believe the Bible teaches that, okay? So I believe that. And I'm trying to convert you. Bible
saying the Bible teaches is a weird thing to say, right? Because the Bible really doesn't teach anything. People teach things based on their own interpretation of the Bible, and no one, and I mean no one, has a monopoly on teaching or on interpreting the Bible, right? Now, you might say, well, in my tradition, this is the person in whom we invest authority to interpret the Bible, and that's fine. And that means that according to your tradition, this is what the Bible says. But you can't then just say, well, that is what the Bible says. Because the Bible is just a collection of texts. They have to be interpreted by people. And people are not all going to agree on what it says. And if your goal is not to just uncover authorial intent and go from there, then there's no one right meaning for the text that is objectively, verifiably the right meaning. Because even if, say, Bent and I disagree about the actual intent of a text, unless we can go find the author and ask him directly, we can't really just decide between each other. We just both think that different options are reasonable. And that's okay. That's how texts are. Alex Markle says, sounds like wish purgatory. I mean, I guess kind of.
It says, knowing the terror of the Lord, we persuade men. But it would not be right for me to try to convert you to my belief and lie to you in order to change your mind.
Oh,
Jeez.
wow.
Taking a drink. I don't even know what to say to that.
That's exactly what you're doing, Kent.
Kent, yeah, that probably would be bad. Yeah, that's... Jeez. Oh, him saying that might be... I think my irony meter just pegged high, I think, just right there.
It did.
Wow.
That was... Yeah.
Yeah, the Kent Open School for Kids Who Can't God Good says, ask a God. God's famously reluctant to actually give answers in unambiguous ways that everyone can agree he just gave. So, yeah.
That would be wrong. That would be criminal.
Well, you did end up in prison, Kent, so I guess you're right about that. We'll take a drink. Oh, this is like in his older talks when he's like, I think you should just marry one person and stay married to that person forever. It's like, oh, Kent, what wife are you on now? Four wives? Are you on wife number 4? Seems like it.
What's happening in our textbooks, some people want the kids to believe in evolution theory, but they lie to them to get them to believe the theory.
I mean, you say that, Ken, but I've never actually seen you demonstrate a lie in the textbook. The closest I've come to seeing you say that is that Haeckel's drawings shouldn't be used in modern textbooks, which I can agree with, but then you just pretend that Haeckel was lying, which there's no real evidence of. And, yeah, ages like milk, says Kent Hovind School for Kids Who Can't God Good. Exactly.
You know, if I told you 20 billion years ago there was a Big Bang, people would say, wait a minute, where's your...
Shanti says r/self-aware wolves with a Mothra. Yeah, we'll take for that Mothra, and very true. This is definitely some r/self-aware wolves material here. Jeez. I feel like Kent barely even has an idea of the self. Like, how can you have a coherent idea that you exist as a person, and then say things like this?
Right?
Evidence for this. If I said 4.6 billion years ago the Earth cooled down, somebody's going to say, hey, where's the evidence for this?
And then you're going to look at things like radiometric dating and asteroids, as well as some of the oldest rocks on Earth, some of which happen to be in Australia. Way to go, Aussies. And then you can look at things like, well, they happen to be all igneous rocks or metamorphic rocks that are formed from igneous rocks. And yeah, that's the evidence of that. And then you can look at like, well, that goes in line with the whole idea of the, stellariferous era of the universe after the Big Bang. And, like pop 0, pop 1, pop 2 stars, things like that. All kind of coheres into this one, holistic story that is internally consistent, unlike young Earth creationism.
If I said life come from non-living material, where's the evidence for it? You have to give...
I mean, the Bible says that, right? Like the Bible says, and the ocean brought forth, and the earth brought forth, and that God made humans out of the dust of the earth. Everyone believes... Well, okay, I don't know about everyone, but both Christians and non-Christians, as well as Christians who just accept science, they all agree that life came from non-life, whether or not God was involved.
Yeah.
So...
Give the kids some evidence, you got to make them believe. What evidence do they give for evolution theory?
I mean, homology, ERVs, the twin-nested hierarchies, observed instances of evolution. There's statistical analyses that are run. One of my favorites is the paper that tried to do a statistical analysis on the common ancestry of all primate families, and found p-values that were much, much lower than 1 times 10 to the negative 1,000, which is basically your chances of the results just being a fluke because of random chance. Which, like, I've never seen p-values that low in my entire life. Some of the p-values were just 0. Which I presume means that their computer could not handle numbers that low, because you never actually get a 0 for a p-value. But when your p-value is so damn low that your computer can't handle it, you run into problems. I actually had that same problem trying to do some algebra on my phone, because I needed to raise a number to the 750th power, and my phone was just like, no, you can't. And like trying to do like a solve for x, I was like, okay, so if x divided by 750,000 plus 1 raised to 750,000th power, what is that? My phone was like, no, I'm not solving for x. So in order to solve for x, I just had to actually like guess at values and like hone in on a value that was good enough within the sig figs I was working on. And eventually it gave me a number. So.
Well, let's talk about a few of these things here. Students are taught, here's a typical chapter from a text.
Vadim points out that Kent wasn't ready for ERVs. Very true. I'm taking a drink for that. That is very true. Yeah, that Kent debate with Conspiracy Cats. Now, here's the thing. Lately, Conspiracy Cats has been doing some things that are pretty iffy. And then not doing some things that were supposed to clear up the iffiness of the things he was doing. So, I don't know what his deal is, man, but he's certainly acting like someone who, I don't know, might be a transphobe. Just putting it out there. Not saying he is, I can't confirm that, but he was complaining on Twitter a lot about something that he wasn't telling anyone about. And it sounded a whole lot like it was his teachers telling kids that like there's a difference between sex and gender. And he would not confirm or deny, and said he was going to put out a video that would either confirm or deny it. And then he just didn't. So I don't know what his deal is, but I'm a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Of course, great. Now I just started beef with all the Conspiracy Cats fans. Hey, dislike my videos and comment on how bad of a person I am for suspecting that Conspiracy Cat might be the thing that he's totally acting like on Twitter. Helps me in the algorithm.
It says we have evidence of evolution from fossils.
True. But he's reading, so.
We have evidence from structure.
True, that's homology.
Evidence from molecular biology.
That's part of that whole genetics and phylogenies and whatnot in the twin-nested hierarchy, yep.
How we determine the age of fossils. We have evidence.
True. Radiometric dating and stratigraphy.
From development.
Embryology, one I didn't even hit.
This is what they show the kids. They're going to try to present them some evidence.
Yeah.
Now we're going to spend quite a bit of time looking at the evidence that is presented.
Oh.
And how it doesn't really hold up to scientific inquiry.
That sounds kind of fun, but we are about done with this. Now here's the thing. I suspect that the rest of this is going to be a bunch of nonsense. We're going to check it out next week. And I already have lessons 9 and 10 downloaded. So when we run out of this, we are going to jump right into lessons 9 and 10. Probably next week, because we had about 20 minutes left before, and now we have about 11 minutes. So I think, since I'm pretty sure this is going to end with some nonsense we don't care about, like what's going to be on the quiz or whatever. So I think we're going to get into lesson 9, I was going to say tomorrow, not tomorrow. Next week. Yeah. So, Bent, do you have anything you want to tell people about that maybe places they can find you or
I have a
upcoming stuff?
Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to donate money to me on Patreon. I have an Amazon wish list. Feel free to buy me things.
Where can they find the links for that?
That's just down in the description.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Vagary says get better booze next time. No, the booze isn't the problem. The brandy's fine. It's the Christmas, or it's the holiday. It's the holiday almond nog that's the problem. Jeez. Oh, Reggio says the recent sports debate he did does lend itself that you may be onto something. I didn't even know he'd done that, because I mean, you guys might not know this, but I don't spend a lot of time following what's going on in the quote unquote skeptic world. I mean, don't get me wrong, I watch some flat earth debates for fun sometimes, because it's, I mean, look, I saw a guy talk about cations and anions and dark emitting diodes instead of cations and anions, and there's no such thing as darkness emitting diodes. So,
Jeez.
I know.
Golly.
And I gotta be honest, hearing the phrase dark emitting diodes made me laugh out loud for a while. So that's why I do watch the occasional flat earth debate. But yeah, I don't tend to keep up. I did keep up with the Craig thing with his channel getting nuked from orbit because of Caleb Davis. So I actually tried to help out with that a little bit. I am far from the one who got his channel back, but I did help him with some of his investigations, shall we say, as did a number of people in my Discord server. So let's take a look at what's coming up soon. So tomorrow, Thursday, we have Feathery Dinosaurs Are Just Fake, also Behemoth, which is part 3 of 4 of Batty Bodie's Dinosaur Delusions. That'll be at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sorry, we're always in Mountain Standard Time, but that means that when everyone else is in Standard Time, I have to change the time differences for everyone else. So yeah, that's Thursday. On Saturday, right now, the plan is for Vishanti and I to take a look at some edited down L.A. Marzulli clips. Now, the reason I'm going to edit them down is that L.A. Marzulli usually takes a 17-minute video, and of that, about 5 minutes will actually be him talking about the topic of the video, leaving, 12 other minutes in which he's just trying to hawk things to you. Sell you gold, sell you supplements, sell you water purification tablets, I don't know. Basically, he sells the same things that Rush Limbaugh sold, or that Alex Jones is selling. I mean, not the proprietary Alex Jones stuff, but it's the same kind of stuff, right? Basically, supplements that do nothing and investments that are probably not the greatest of ideas. But then again, I'm not a licensed financier or anything. Don't take anything I say as financial advice. But also, L.A. Marzulli is also not licensed to give financial advice, so maybe don't take his financial advice either. So yeah, that's currently what Saturday is looking like. And then, I think that brings us to basically the end of the year. Yeah, I am not sure if I am going to try to do a New Year's thing. I might, but I don't know. I'm feeling pretty tired, and I want maybe a little bit of a break for the rest of the year. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do a New Year's thing for the channel. But anyway, if you are interested and you are a channel member or a patron and you are on the Discord, we are going to be going over and watching Power Rangers Time Force over there. 4 episodes. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, if you like watching Power Rangers Time Force with a bunch of nerds. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much. I hope to see all of you on Thursday. Don't worry, Bent, you are safe from the tutu.
Yay.
Yes. So thank you so much, everybody. I will talk to all of you later. Hopefully, again, see you Thursday, and we are out of here.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Benthoven, Philhavara, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Denny5252, Etheran Teller, Horseflesh, Ian Chan, Kelvin Brostek Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabbity Babbity, Monkey They Them, Robert Carpenter, Sphincter of Doom, Volus, Eta V, and Strawberry Vein. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.